Okay, we're live streaming.
Okay,
Wait 1 second. It's not coming on broadcast. I'm not sure why. Hold on a second. Okay, it's now broadcasting and recording. And attendees are now available to view the meeting.
all right, Steve, can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay. All right, call to order the public session of council for the Borough of Forest Hills, December 16th, 2020. Mayor, would you please lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag of the United States of America
And to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you, Mayor. Roll call, please.
Mr. Belay, Ms. DeMarco,
Present.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Present.
Mr. Gorel,
Here.
Mr. Lawrence,
Present.
Mr. Thielacker,
Here.
Mr. Tomasic,
Here.
Mayor Porco,
Here.
Ms. Sullivan, Mr. Corbel,
Present.
Mr. Gilliland,
Present.
and I'm here as well.
We were scheduled to present Mr. Patrick Lanigan with the Marty B. O'Malley Citizenship Award. However, due to the weather, he will not be able to attend. We will be moving that presentation to January. Secondly, we have a public hearing on the Climate Action Plan, which has been developed and by Vice President Ms. DeMarco, who will be leading this section of public comment. So I turn the meeting over to Vice President Ms. DeMarco.
Thank you, Mr. Tomasic. It's my pleasure this evening to open this public hearing on the Climate Action Plan for Forest Hills Borough. This is developed under a joint grant with ICLEI and the Department of Environmental Protection, Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, of the state of Pennsylvania. We have had 2 committee meetings, and we have had this in review with the Environment Advisory Council of Forest Hills for some months in a row now. I would like to acknowledge the assistance of the Environmental Advisory Council in developing this plan, and also of our intern, Mr. Blake Martin from Chatham University, and Marissa Stakely, also an undergraduate from Chatham University, in helping us to develop the draft that has been circulated for public comment on our website and was mailed to anyone who responded to any of the surveys. At this time, any members of council wishing to speak at the public hearing on this subject have the opportunity to speak first. Any of you wish to make any comments at this moment?
So Ms. DeMarco, we have a hand raised from Angela Baiocchi.
Yes, I'll go to the public after council.
Oh,
says-
sorry.
Yeah.
No problem.
So seeing no council.
Yeah, just a statement from Office and Policies. I want to support everything that the council environmental group has done and Ms. DeMarco has done to do this. It's an exhausting project and it's very impressive. And I also want to emphasize to those who are out in the community that this is a set of recommendations, and it will move forward with the effort of council and the community to make decisions. And it will also require a lot of money from the state and the federal government. So do not look at it as a mandatory or a mandate to do certain things. It is our goal that there will be, we will look for funds to do a lot of the things that are listed here. And I think that's very important to understand.
Okay.
As we move forward.
Thank you, Mr.
Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Any other members of council wish to speak at this time? Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to say something, although I'm not a member of council,
Okay.
but I just wanted to take an opportunity to thank Vice President DeMarco for all of her hard work and efforts on this plan. One of the things that I believe as elected officials we're tasked with is leave our community in a better position than when we initially found it, right? And so with this plan, I believe that we actually have a blueprint which we can follow that in fact will do just that. So I just wanted to commend her for all of her hard work and efforts on this, and just thank you for the exhausting amount of effort that you put into the plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Porco. It is a team effort by all means. Okay, any other comments from the council or members here? Okay. Members of public will have an opportunity to speak at this time. You will have 5 minutes to make remarks. Please state your name and spell your name for the record, and give us your address in Forest Hills before making your remarks. I have 3 people with hands up. I will call them in order. First, Mr. Angelo Biocchi. Angelo, you have the floor.
Angelo, you should be able to speak.
Hey, do you have me there? Okay. So I prepared a written statement here. I'd like to read it if I may. I'm here to endorse and support the proposed climate action plan. We all contribute to the climate change that is occurring, but we can take steps in our personal lives and as a community to mitigate those effects. Many of the actions proposed in the plan require little or no cost to achieve. By changing our habits and raising awareness of how to reduce greenhouse emissions through those actions, we will greatly improve our emission profile. This plan provides a roadmap to achieve realistic short-term and long-term goals. Some involve working with community businesses as well as our residents to offer guidance and support in some areas. But working together, we can reach the goals set forth in the plan. Doing nothing will end up costing us a lot more locally, nationally, and globally. So I strongly encourage council to adopt the proposed climate action plan for Forest Hills. And I apologize for not giving you my information up front. It's Angelo Biocchi. It's Biocchi. I live at 828 Sherwood Road, and I am also a member of the Environmental Advisory Council.
Yes. Any questions? Okay. Angelo, thank you so much for your help and for your statement tonight.
You're
We
welcome.
appreciate it. Okay, next we have Elise Yoder.
Hello, you hearing me?
Floor.
Okay, I'm, excuse me, Elise Yoder. That's Eliseyoder. I live at 426 Burlington. I'm a member of the Environmental Advisory Council, and I wholeheartedly endorse this plan. I've been working on climate action issues for at least the past 5 years. And, sometimes we focus on federal policy. There's at the regional level, the Greenhouse Gas Initiative. We lobby Harrisburg. We talk about, the Allegheny County Council and, having them make a motion for sustainability efforts and carbon neutrality with the city of Pittsburgh. But now I have something that's literally in my backyard that I can work on with my neighbors and, really give back to this place where I've lived since 1992. And I am so excited about it and want to thank Dr. DeMarco and the interns for all the work. And there's going to be a lot more work, and I'm up for it. And I think a lot of people are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elise. Mr. Cooper, please.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Hi, my name is Patrick Cooper. I live on 502 Berlin Road. It's first time speaking to council, so it's good to be a part of this. I've got a newborn in the house here. I'm an educator. I'm a scientist. I work for Duquesne University, and I also do outreach stuff in Wilkinsburg as well. And I just, working with kids and future generations, I feel a really big responsibility to these future generations. And I'm very thankful for what I have. And I know I worked hard to get where I am, but also I wouldn't be here if people before me weren't good stewards of the natural resources of the environment and of the economy and of building a sustainable future. So it's a moral imperative for me to want to take action. And I really support the plan for that reason. Also, just to kind of echo those previous comments, I think Americans have kind of an unhealthy obsession with federal politics, and we're really into big personalities and following individuals. But really, the founding fathers set up a system of government where a lion's share of the responsibility falls on local communities. And so I think this document has some real ambition to it, but if our local governments don't have a robust vision for the future, then I think we shouldn't be looking to Washington to solve our problems. And lastly, the measures in this thing really benefit everybody. They save individuals money, they save the borough money, they protect our natural assets in the community, and they make us more resilient to unforeseen events like pandemics and climate events in the future. So I'm really looking forward to Forest Hills being a local leader in Pittsburgh for building a more sustainable community in the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cooper. And he is also a member of the Environment Advisory Council. Thank you so much. Mr. Berry, please.
Yes, my name is Ethan Berry, live at 324 Avenue F in Forest Hills. After reading the climate action plan that you intend to adopt this evening, I'd like to make several critiques before you vote. First, I was appalled at the residential short-term policy recommendation, page 20, recommendation number 3, requiring energy audits upon transfer of property. You would deny homeowners the ability to sell our property if a home does not meet your arbitrary requirements of the audit. The energy audits that you would saddle, these energy audits would saddle homeowners and sellers with the cost of the audit, which is currently somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $1,000. These recommendations infringe on residents' personal property rights. With these recommendations included, we, the residents of the borough, will always be in fear and be on guard. The council may someday take up this recommendation to void our personal property rights. To think that the borough would even contemplate using government violence or the denial of occupancy permit to advance this plan is loathsome. Because of this inclusion of this single recommendation, I would ask council to reject this plan. Next, I have issue with the residential midterm recommendation, page 21, and number 4, establishment of energy efficiency rankings and standard checklists for transfer of property. Again, this recommendation erodes homeowners' personal property rights. This would allow the borough to pick winners and create losers when properties are listed for sale and transfers. The government has no right to stick its nose in these transactions. Also, I take exception to the recommendations in the long-term policy recommendation, page 22, item number 1, adjusting occupancy requirements to require energy efficiency improvements upon transfer, replacement of gas heat. Council has no business telling homeowners how we can choose to heat our homes. In most cases, conversion from natural gas, which is the predominant home heating method in the borough, to electric heating methods would be extremely expensive for individual homeowners. It's also not the aesthetic that I want for my 100-year-old house. Again, contemplating the use of government violence or the denial of an occupancy permit to enforce the advancement of this plan concerns me. For these reasons, I would ask the council not adopt these and allow the free market system to fill the gaps that you perceive and don't infringe on our rights any further.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Berry. Is there anyone else who wishes to make a comment this evening from the public? Okay, there are a number of other people present. I see no one else with a hand up. Is that correct?
Right.
Mr. Hall? Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, you have the floor.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dan Hall. I live at 21 Sylvan Road, and I just want to voice my support for this climate plan. That's all, really.
Oh, you didn't want to make a comment?
No, I just heard that you had one guy concerned about it. I thought I would even it out by saying, here you've got one guy who's completely in support of it. I'm not on any councils or committees or anything like that. I'm just a random
Okay.
guy who lives in Forest Hills.
Okay, thank you. All right. Ms. Freeman, Deb Freeman, do you wish to make a statement? And Mr. Morse, do you wish to make a statement? Okay. Okay, at this time, I see no further people who are interested in making any comments. And so I would make a motion to close the public hearing at this time.
Patty,
Second the motion.
What?
Patty, I actually had a question on the concerns that Ethan Berry had brought up.
We will have discussion in the council deliberations under ops and policy. This
Okay.
is a public comment period. Are there any other comments to be reflected here? Okay, in that case, there is a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of closing the hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The public hearing is concluded and I return the chair to your hand.
Thank you. President's report. At the last meeting, Councilman William Gorel made allegations which impugned the integrity of me, council, our solicitor, and others by suggesting that we did not follow proper procedures as members of Forest Hills Council. The borough has not acted under color of law to deprive Mr. Gorel of any of its constitutional rights, nor has the borough violated the Sunshine Act in any respects. These are scurrilous accusations written by Mr. Gorel's attorney, in my opinion, or at least with his help, but are based upon Mr. Gorel's gross misunderstanding of the law and a gross misinterpretation of the facts. Mr. Gorel has attacked me personally over and over again. I won't go into all of the things that he has said, but I believe it's part of a group that have tried to defame me over the years. Recent allegations, a complaint filed against me by the Forest Hills Police Association has been completely debunked with both witnesses, eyewitnesses, and videotapes. But this allegation, which was forced to involve, had to go on because of the complaint, cost the taxpayers about $20,000. For over 15 years, I've been on this council and I've dedicated myself to improving the borough and have constantly fended off these bullies. To list all of their attempts would take me the better part of an hour. I have about 1 year left before I retire from borough council. I suggest that Mr. Gorel and others use their energy in making the borough a better place to live and give up this incessant need to defame me or the members of this council. That concludes my report. Mayor's report, Mr. Porco.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple of items on my agenda. So first of all, I have been working closely with Councilman Tom Thielacker and as well with our borough manager, Steve Morris, our receptionist, Annie Vamos, and our webmaster, Angela Baiocchi, and our inaugural holiday house decorating contest. So normally we would have, well, this would have been our second year for a Light Up the Hills Light Up Night event in Forest Hills, which our inaugural was last year, and it was very well attended, and it ended up being a pretty nice success. Due to COVID restrictions, we weren't able to do that. So what we thought we would do is introduce a house decorating contest to kind of get people engaged and involved in the community. And so we've had a lot of people submit their names for the contest, as well as Councilman Thielak are running around taking pictures of houses. You have until the 18th, which is this Friday by 5 p.m. To enter your house if you'd like to. I think it's just going to be a really fun contest. And you can do so by emailing admin@foresthillspa.com. And all of this information, by the way, is on our website, which is foresthillspa.org. So if you send your if you send your name and address, we'll come out and get a picture of your house and we'll put it up on the website. The week of the 21st through the 25th, anybody living in Forest Hills is welcome to vote on the house. They'll be allowed to vote to a maximum of 3 houses that they think have done a bang-up job on the decorating. Our first place prize is a family season pass to the Forest Hills Pool for the 2021 summer season. A second place prize is a $200 gift certificate to any restaurant of your choice in Forest Hills. And the third place prize will be a $100 gift certificate, again, to any restaurant of your choice in Forest Hills. So excited about that. We have a number of folks who have already submitted their houses for the contest. And then we also figured it might be a fun idea on Friday night to do a holiday light neighborhood car cruise. And so this Friday evening, we would like to organize a car cruise along with our fire department and police departments. Santa Claus will also be there, and we will be driving through the neighborhoods, visiting homes that have entered their house for the house decorating contest. So Santa will be on the truck waving to all the kids. And so the meeting place for that is the Forest Hills Westinghouse Lodge parking lot. We're going to line the cars up around 7 o'clock, and the caravan pulls out around 7:15. So again, just another, I guess, fun way to kind of do a socially distanced, somewhat fun holiday event in light of the COVID pandemic. So again, the information for that is on our website at foresthillspa.org. So I just want to take an opportunity to thank everybody who's been helping out with this. I think it is going to be a fun event. And also just wanted to take an opportunity to comment on the COVID-19 pandemic. It has really been a crazy past calendar year. 2020 has been a challenge, to say the very least. But I just wanted to thank all of the residents in our community for their patience and for their cooperation. I'm never surprised by this. The residents of our community are they're amazing, right? And anytime there's an issue like that, I'm always amazed to see how people pull together to support one another in our community. And this pandemic has proven no less, which I know was a bit tough. So we, ended up having to close parks for a while. We ended up having a pool season, but with, a significant amount of restrictions. And it was just great to kind of see people pull together and work together to get through this. My hope now is that the end is in sight and 2021 will be a much better and healthier and safer year for us all. So with that, I would like to just close out my remarks by saying that I wish each and every one of you a very happy and safe and healthy holiday season. And I'm wishing everybody a very prosperous and healthy 2021. And with that, I conclude my remarks. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe the next person on our list to report would be the Chief of Police, Chief Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Based on what we have going on today with this weather, I just wanted to remind people that if there's a problem with your vehicle and you, let's say, break down or whatever on one of our roadways, whether it be Ardmore, Greensburg Pike, or a residential street, please call 911. Don't just abandon your vehicle and leave it there in the middle of the street. We can probably come and help you. We can probably get you a tow And at the very least, we'd like to be able to move your car off the roadway so that the snow plows can continue to take care of this fairly large snow we're getting this particular day. So again, I know I've had this in Tree City Times before. We'd really appreciate the phone call rather than you just walking away from the car and locking it up. And, you know, especially on like bigger roadways like Ardmore or Greensburg Pike, it tends to be a bigger issue. But we'd still like to know why your car's there, and maybe if we can help you. I mean, at the very least, if the car doesn't run, maybe we can provide you with a ride back to your home if you live nearby. But again, we'd like to hear from you, and you know, these kind of weather conditions certainly create an additional danger to other motorists if your car is on the roadway, and difficulty for our public works department to take care of some issues that may, you know, need to be done, basically, whether it be plowing, salting, or whatever. That's all I have, Mr. President. And again, happy holidays to everyone. The police department appreciates everything everybody does to help us each and every year. And it's been a very difficult year this year, and we do appreciate all everyone has done for us. We appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and I hope I don't have to call you tonight. Okay, moving on. Solicitors report, Mr. Corbel.
Nothing to really report this evening other than to announce that the council will hold a short executive session following the meeting tonight to discuss a personnel matter. Should only take a minute or two. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. Corbel. Other committee reports or boards, Ms. DeMarco?
I have no report tonight.
Mr. Lawrence?
No report tonight. Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Thielacker?
No report. Thank you.
Thank you all. Public comment, agenda and non-agenda items. All persons wishing to address items based on the explanation below will be heard at this time. Use your raise hand icon on the bottom of the Zoom screen to request to speak. Following announcement of the start of the public comment period. This period focuses on both agenda and non-agenda items. At this time, citizens may address council on any issue appearing on today's agenda or any other issue you may wish to bring before council. Only residents and taxpayers of the Borough of Forest Hills will be permitted to address council. This is the only public comment period for this meeting. Speakers will be permitted to speak for a maximum of 5 minutes. Groups of people will be required to designate a spokesperson to represent them before council, who may speak for a maximum of 10 minutes. Please spell your name for the record. Speakers are reminded that council uses these comment periods as opportunities to gather information and not to respond directly to concerns raised. Information gathered will not be discussed at the business meeting, but instead will be referred by the council president to the appropriate committee for review and discussion at the next committee meeting. Thank you. So, is there anyone that would like to speak at this time?
There's no raised hand.
Thank you. So let's move right into committee reports. Operations and Policy, Mr. Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve the minutes from the November 18, 2020 council meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passed.
Next motion, I move to approve the calendar attached to this agenda specifying council committee and business meeting dates for 2021 and authorizing the manager to advertise his schedule as well as the schedule of other boards and commissions as required.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions and or comments? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passed.
I also move to approve the updated policy covering procedures for building code zoning officers as reviewed by council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passed.
Thank you, sir. I move to approve ordinance number 1087, amending Chapter 1 of the Code of Ordinances permitting alternate members on the Recreation Board, Environmental Advisory Council, and Shade and Tree Shrub Committee.
Second.
The ordinance reads below. You can read that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Okay, roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
I move to adopt the Forest Hills Climate Action Plan for 2020 to 2050 as developed with the funding from the ICLEI, Local Governments for Sustainability, and the PA Department of Environmental Protection, and recommended by the Forest Hills Environmental Advisory Council with no significant recommendations for additions or revisions upon public hearing.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment.
I'm sorry, I missed who seconded.
I second.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Okay, I agree with Mr. Barry's comments, and I think it's actually against recent votes we did as council. We want to keep, if people sell their house, we want to keep that process as lean as possible. So I think I would recommend that we change that into a recommendation and don't make it compulsory. All those inspections and changing heating, and it should be just a recommendation or not like a requirement.
Can I respond, please? With the
Yes,
note
please.
that is in the later years, midterm to long-term parts of the plan. If we're going to reach net zero by 2050, these kinds of large systemic changes are going to be necessary. We assumed that in that outer years, like this is now 10 and 20 years from now, there will be additional financial assistance and underwriting assistance for these kinds of changes. And we are expecting that there will be federal and state level support for these kinds of initiatives in the outer years. These are looking 10 to 20 years in the future. This goes out to 2050. And if we're going to actually reach our goal of net zero by the year 2050, these kinds of large systemic changes are going to be necessary. At the time that the council is considering these things, they will require specific action if they are to be implemented in those outer year times. This is not saying that we're going to implement these under current conditions today, but rather looking into the future at what kinds of systemic changes are going to be necessary if we're going to reach a goal of net zero. And so that you have to put that in the context of a 30-year window of planning horizon. These are in the midterm to long-term planning horizons.
Can I?
Now, wait a minute, hold up. We don't want to get into a debate here, a back and forth. People can make their statements and positions known, and then we need to vote on it. And if you don't agree with the particular item, you can vote no on it. All right, so if anybody wants to make another comment, please do so. Comments only. We are not going to debate the issue.
I just wanted to add that that is just the entire thing technically is just a recommendation as well. So no matter, who's on council 15, 20 years from now, if they deem those things necessary, it's still just a recommendation. They would have to come back and, if the will of the community and council is to decide that at that time they can do that. But as part of the plan going forward, it's just recommendations for how to get to that goal.
Exactly.
Anyone else?
Yes. No, I would just agree with my statement before. These are not mandates. These are recommendations. And so be it on that.
Okay, anyone else? I will just state then to end this particular conversation that I too agree with the statements behind what Mr. Berry said, but this is not a legal document. We cannot enforce anything involving these actions, and they would need to be taken up by future councils. That being said, do we have a motion and a second on this, Mr. Morris?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so then let's go with the roll call vote, please.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. President, I believe everything else is the usual thing. They're listed under ops and policies, and there's nothing more to report. That concludes my report tonight.
All right, and I thank you. Finance Committee, please. Ms. DeMarco.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a motion to approve payment of bills for the month of November in the following amounts. From the general fund budget, $117,663.59. From the corrective action budget, $15,691.31. From the fire protection fee, $10,816.55. And for road improvements, $500.84.
We have a second?
Second, please.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Okay. I have a motion to approve a resolution number 1216, fixing the tax rate for the year 2021 and approving specific sums estimated to be required for the specific purposes of the municipal government for the budget year 2021. That summary information is on page 15 of the agenda if you wish to see it.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Yes. The second, please.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? None being, roll call vote, please. Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Okay, please note that this resolution includes the dedication of 1 mil for permanent street and paving improvements, and that there is no tax increase in the budget at this time. I also, sir, have a motion to adopt resolution 1217, establishing and updating fees for various borough services and permits to be approved in the 2021 budget.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions, comments? None being, roll call vote, please. Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you. I make a motion to approve the final budget for the year 2021 as follows. For the general fund, $6,446,380. For the liquid fuels budget, $388,480. For the corrective action budget, $2,530,274. For the road improvement fund, $385,800. For fire protection services, $231,200. And for capital improvements, $566,078 for 2021 only.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions and or comments?
The budget will be on the website and is available in printed form shortly after this time.
Okay, roll
In
call vote.
January sometime.
Yeah, January.
Yeah.
Roll call vote, please. Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you. And I'd like to thank Mr. Morris for his professional expertise in balancing the budget this year. It was a very, very tough year. And I appreciate his professionalism and his expertise at our disposal for this. I have a motion to approve ordinance number 1088, updating the police pension plan. The ordinance reads that the Borough of Forest Hills, relative to the establishment and maintenance of the police employees' pension annuity, insurance, and benefit fund or funds, to amend certain provisions of the pension plan or program applicable to the police employees of said borough, and to restate in its entirety such pension plan or program.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second.
Verify that's ordinance number 1089.
It says 1088 on my agenda.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Did I get it wrong?
There are two. There is the police plan, which is 1088, and then the non-uniformed is 1089.
Okay.
Which is coming.
Which is next. It's the next one.
Coming up next.
Okay, my mistake. I apologize.
Bill, you're mute.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on ordinance number 1088. Do we have, okay, roll call vote, please. Mr. Moore.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you. I have a motion now for ordinance number 1089, updating the non-uniform pension plan. I will not read that ordinance in its entirety at this point.
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions and or comments? None being, roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
Thank you. I have a motion to authorize the borough manager to extend payment deadlines for borough fees without penalty through March 31st of 2021.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would anybody like to make sure that the notation at the bottom is read so
Yeah.
that people will understand exactly what it is we're doing?
I can read
There
that.
could be
The
some
motion
confusion.
does not change the due date on the fees, but allows the staff to withhold posting penalties during the period for those forced to pay after the due date and including water shut-offs. The motion does not affect real estate tax payments, and if there is no further extension, imposition of penalties will begin on April 21st, 2021.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the motion. Do we have a second yet?
Yes.
Second.
Okay.
Yes.
There is-
And
Mr. Thielacker seconded.
Okay,
yeah, and
we have-
Patty had said April 21st. It's April 1st, 2021, just for the record.
Okay,
Right.
thank you
I'm
for the
sorry.
correction.
You are correct. I apologize.
Okay, we're having trouble with our numbers tonight, I see. Okay, we have a motion and a second, and that would require us to have a roll call vote then.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passed.
Okay, that concludes my report. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Marco. Borough property, Mr. Thielacker.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to approve ordinance number 1090, amending chapter 15 of the Code of Ordinances to regulate parking on borough property at 4400 Greensburg Pike and 700 Barclay Avenue.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Okay, this requires a roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passed.
And that's all I have. I believe they're all recurring items under my general report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Planning and zoning, Mr. Blais is not here or present or on Zoom. Would anybody like to fill in and take the planning and zoning action?
Yeah, I can do that, sir.
Okay.
And then Mr. Thielacker, please go ahead.
Sorry. Thank you. Move to approve the bids of Krusper Tree Service for 2021 tree pruning in the amount of $26,325 and 2021 tree removals in the amount of $17,550.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Okay, roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
That'll be it for the general report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Thielacker. Public Works Committee, Mr. Gorel.
Move to approve a change order for 2020 street paving work resulting in a reduction in the cost amounting to $3,619.90.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? None being, roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion carries.
Under my general report, I do want to bring up a few things. I've been in touch with Jimmy Thielacker all day today. His crews are working diligently through this snowstorm. It's obviously brought, he said it was about 3 inches in about an hour and a half of time during the rush hour. So if you are traveling tonight, please try to stay on our main roads. We're going to have a crew out until 4 o'clock in the morning, a skeleton crew, and then we'll be bringing our other guys in that Jimmy is sending home at 8 o'clock tonight, back at 4 o'clock in the morning to have the roadways clear when everyone wakes up tomorrow. So please be careful out there. The other thing I wanted to comment on, Steve, I believe under the general report, letter A, and Dave can correct me if I'm wrong, that should say MS4 retention pond project, not the tension pond, not the tension pond, but no big deal. I do want to touch on that. And the 2020 street paving is complete. And that concludes my report.
Sorry about that.
You're okay. I just wanted to put that on there.
Okay, thank you. Public safety, please, Mr. Erbaldinger.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a motion, move to approve resolution number 1218, establishing the monthly pension contribution by police officers in accordance with the police pension plan, ordinance of the Borough of Forest Hills. And I have a note, the resolution states the amount of participant contributions due shall be established at 5% in 2021.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? None being, roll call vote, please, Mr. Morris.
Ms. DeMarco,
Yes.
Mr. Erbaldinger,
Yes.
Mr. Gorel,
Yes.
Mr. Lawrence,
Yes.
Mr. Thielacker,
Yes.
President Tomasic.
Yes, motion passes.
In my general report, I would like to mention that we discussed a traffic study and options for reducing the speed limit on Sylvan Road. And also we're starting a review on the Fillmore-Ardmore intersection, what we can do to make it safer. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. There's no old business listed, no new business listed. Therefore, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all. Mr. Morris, you can take us off of the live situation.
Okay, I need a couple of seconds here. Hang on.
So I can say Merry Christmas to all of our attendees who came this evening, and thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, happy
Okay.
holidays, everyone.
Okay, I'm taking everybody off. Hold on a minute, please.